Continuing our ongoing investigation of the syntax of a CSS style, we're going to look at what is a statement. And as we start that, I just want to talk a little bit about these characters here. These are called curly braces, at least that's what I've always called them. There may be other names for them, but I'm going to call them curly braces because that works for me. So there's a matching pair of them. There is a beginning curly brace and an ending curly brace. And what these do is these set off what's called a block in CSS. Now, every style has a selector and a block, and inside of that block are what's called in the CSS specification anyway, a statement. And here's the statement, and it has a property and a value. And so there's a number of statements in this style, and they're all inside of this block, which is set off by these curly braces. Now, each statement in the CSS style is terminated by a semicolon. So the semicolon tells the CSS parser that this is the end of the statement, and next begins another statement. If you omit this semicolon by accident, say, then both of these statements will not be understood because background color, colon, value, space, margin, colon, value, semicolon does not compute to the CSS parser. So all of that will no longer work. So let's go ahead and save this. And in some contexts, it may throw away the entire block, so even font family wouldn't work. But I think in Firefox, font family will continue to work. Yes, here we still have font family, but we'll notice that the margin and the background color got messed up. So the CSS parser just threw away these two statements because the missing semicolon made it impossible, literally, for the parser to understand what's meant here. The semicolon ends the statement, and that allows the parser to parse this statement and go on to the next one. So when I save this and go back into the browser, you'll see the margins will get straightened out. That's a very subtle shift, that margin, and the background color. You see that? Now, this semicolon here is a special case. If I omit this semicolon, the parser will find the end of the block. And according to the specification, that's okay. That's the one case where a semicolon is actually optional. When it's the last statement of a block, the statement itself can be terminated by the closing curly brace of the block. So if I save this and go ahead and reload, we'll see that that font family still applies. And that's because it's at the end of the block. So I'll put that semicolon back in. Now, don't take advantage of that feature. Always use your semicolons. The only time that I will ever not use a semicolon is if I have a style that has exactly one property. And sometimes I'll just write it, like this. All on one line and without a semicolon. That's the only time when I will ever do it. And, seriously, if I need to add more properties to this, I'll go and I'll do this. And I'll know because I'm reformatting, I'm going through all of that I need that semicolon. And that process will trigger that for me. But if you omit it here, and you go to add another style, let's say color red, and now I have forgotten that semicolon. And so the parser will miss both the font family and the color red. If I save this and go to the browser and reload, we'll see we lose that font family property and nothing is in red. If I go ahead and put in this semicolon, you'll see that all of that works. We now have red text, and it's the correct font family. So always use your semicolons, even in the case they're at the end of the block where it may not actually technically be required. It'll prevent problems when you go and edit this and add more properties to it later.